الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Cjiistani Nothing But Facts live stream on Wednesday. Today, of course, we have to do the Wednesday dua. We're also going to talk today about some insane situation happening in the world with cell phones, pagers, radios, other things shipped to Lebanon have been detonating in people's faces. So we're on the cusp here of a new form of terrorism, which is, what are we going to call this? Tech terrorism or something? Yeah, I mean, it's technological terror is what it is. So this is 2 days in a row now. All right, let's see what we know about this. That's going to be our first segment. Our second segment, and maybe we could fire this up while we talk. Put screen by side. Sheikh Mahdi Laq's Shafii fiqh class. You know, this live stream covers a lot of things. Our live stream covers, we talk about current affairs, we talk affairs of the ummah, we talk about theological, spiritual matters, we talk about, but ultimately we want to encourage everybody to be a student of knowledge. And the way we do it is really through the online program that we have, which we call ArcView, which you can find at arcview.org. I teach the essentials class, which I teach 2 tasawwuf classes a week, and an essentials class, which is the fundamentals of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Right, the fundamentals. And I also we also have in that track all the intro, Aqidah, and the 4 madhabs. And youth and kids. If you have kids, if you have youth, sign them up, because Sister Hada Ahmed does a great job teaching the youth. Mu'een Sayyid from the podcast, the original Cjiistani podcast, he teaches the kids. He teaches them seerah. He storytells an hour a week. He does this. So you can catch him there too. All those are part of essentials. If you want to take the deep dive into Arabic, that's its own track. Deep dive into Aqidah, that's its own track. Deep dive into the 4 madhabs. Each one has its own track. And as you see, Omar is plugging away here and on the website, scrolling, I mean. And there are plenty of pre-recorded classes in the essentials track that you have. So Shafii fiqh. A lot of people want to learn Shafii fiqh. You're going to study that with Sheikh Mahdi Laq. Why don't you click more on that so you can learn more? Click on the learn more. You see that he's going to take you through the curriculum here. Keep going down. Let's see that curriculum. Al-Fiqh Al-Manhaji ala Madhab Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i by Al-Imam Mustafa Khin and Ali Sharbaji and Mustafa Al-Bugha. 3 scholars have produced this large volume work, multi-volume work that covers all the babs, all the chapters of fiqh. Covers all the chapters of fiqh. All right, so it's very good. That's the book that pretty much you take that, you got that for life. You got your fiqh for life. So that's your Shafii fiqh. Go to arcview.org for that. We also yesterday released this book, and I want to talk to everybody. People have been asking about the table of contents. So let's put that up, Omar. That what you had yesterday, the image you had yesterday of the book cover, right? Or the just released, yeah, it's just released. You can get this at meccabooks.com/pearls. Meccabook.com/pearls. Someone asked me, can you read the table of contents? Like, what are the index? What are they? All right, here are the index. Is evil a problem? That's the first thing. Is evil even a problem? Like, firstly, what is evil in the first place? You know, what is it even? Is it ultimately just pain at the end of the day? Because if it is, pain is not, you have to have pain in life. This world is built that way. What is evil? Is freedom, are we condemned to be free? Right? So this chapter on free will. All right. And then he has, what is moral good? Why do people suffer? How can you know who is good? Do we have free will? Acquiring choices, kasb. Who is truly creating everything? And then we have suffering. Moses and Khidr on suffering. What good could, let's go into that. Moses and Khidr on suffering. I mean, anytime Khidr is mentioned, you got to turn to it, right? Khidr is so mysterious, so unique. Everything about him is different. Let's check out this chapter on Moses and Khidr. It is said that Moses, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, was once asked by his people, who's the most knowledgeable person? He said, myself. And he was not wrong. He was God's prophet after all. But God wanted to teach him even greater mysteries that he didn't know. So he sent him on a journey to meet a man who the prophet tells us is named or called Al-Khidr. Khidr is a recurring figure in Islamic mysticism and history. He's a man blessed with knowledge of the unseen. He has ilm ladunni, knowledge only Allah has, that can penetrate through the veil of reality. Greenery blooms wherever he sits or stops to rest. He's there to help those deeply in need, to offer wisdom to the lost, to guide seekers of truth. He's also said to be immortal, meaning he dies only at the end of time. So it's not surprising that figures similar to him have corollaries in almost all traditions of storytelling. After undertaking a long journey, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam finally finds Al-Khidr, laying down on a large stone, resting in a shaded grove. Assalamu alaikum, he says. The greeting of peace in this abandoned place. Where is that coming from? So they were in a non-believing area. Said Khidr. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam meets him and becomes his student. Khidr cryptically replies, you will not be able to be patient with me. God willing, you will find me patient, says Moses, and I will not disobey you. Khidr agrees to journey with him, but under one condition: no questions. Until I inform you of anything, do not ask me any questions. So their adventure begins. Khidr and Moses, alayhi salam, they come across a boat and they embark, and strangely, he climbs down to the hull and he starts ripping out wooden planks. And now this thing starts to let in water. So Sayyidina Musa cannot restrain himself when he sees this. This is haram. Can't do this. All right. Besides haram, we're going to drown us all. All right. So Khidr reminds him, you're not allowed to ask questions. After a while, Khidr and Sayyidina Musa come across a group of boys playing in a field. Khidr takes one of the boys and kills him by twisting his neck. Huh? What? Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam is shocked. How could you kill an innocent person? Right? Normal reaction. You just imagine you're walking with a sheikh and the sheikh just kills somebody. Huh? Finally, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and Khidr arrive at a town. They spend the whole day together. Right now they're at a town, but the people will not host them. They're so disrespectful. They're so mean to them. And on the way, he sees a small part of the city wall about to fall. So he fixes it. And Sayyidina Musa says, hold on. We could actually charge them for that. We could charge them for that, and we could ask them to pay us for that in the form of food, because we don't have any dinner. At this point, there are no more excuses. Before Khidr leaves, he explains himself regarding each incident. Regarding the boat, he says, in the near future, very near future, like in 1 or 2 days, a king is coming who's going to take all good boats. By breaking this boat, it's useless to the king. He passes by and the people remain having their boat. Whereas if he hasn't, if the boat was good, they'd lose it permanently. So they're only losing it for a few days rather than permanently. He decreased the trouble that they were about to face. Okay. What about for the boy? He would have become a tyrant and an oppressor. And his parents would have followed him in this. Some parents follow their kids to disaster. It's true. There are some parents out there, they follow their kids. And Khidr said, Allah, I know that Allah will soon give them another boy. It says here, he also knew the parents would soon be blessed with another son who would be righteous. So now by killing this boy as a child, he doesn't get judged on the day of judgment. He goes to heaven, and the parents go to heaven, and the son goes to heaven. So by losing one boy, they all go to heaven. But if that boy had remained, he would have corrupted all four of them. They all go to hell. Now, what about the final situation? Under that wall, an orphan, two orphans, there was a treasure left for them by one of their fathers or their forefathers. And the people in that city were so bad, they were greedy and bad people, that if they had the opportunity, they would have taken that treasure. What are you looking for, Omar? You want a pen? I got a pen.
No, it says one pen. No, it's okay.
So he talks about suffering here. Suffering has to, pain and suffering and bad things happening. The point here is that when you have knowledge, that changes everything. If I have absolute certain knowledge that you need to pass an exam, and I tell my kid, you're not going anywhere, you're studying to pass this exam. So that's painful for the kid. It's very painful for him. So bad things relate to knowledge. Khidr has knowledge of the future. For in these situations, no one has absolute knowledge of the future. He has knowledge of what Allah shows him, right? So when he takes an action based upon that looks bad, it actually is decreasing the pain that they're going to suffer if he hadn't done that action. The point that Naz is making here is that pain and evil and suffering, the perspective on it completely changes once you have knowledge. And when we don't have knowledge of the future, when we don't know what's going to happen, then pain and suffering at this point, we can't make sense of it. So we just have to trust the source. That's how we make sense of pain. If I trust the source of that pain, and I know he's the one who's bringing it, and he doesn't bring it for any reason. This is not entertainment for him. He doesn't enjoy watching us suffer. That's the point, you see? The Prophet ﷺ said, our ummah is cleansed of its sins in this world before the next. When our ummah was good, we didn't have these troubles. We did good deeds. We went out there, fought, and the ummah was good for about 1,000 years. In the last 500 years was not so great. So we suffer. And all that suffering, you arrive on the day of judgment cleansed of your sins. So that's the value of it. So the story of Musa and Khidr is all about showing that your perspective on pain and suffering completely transforms if knowledge was involved. So, how are you? Good. All right. And and he brings a lot of things from popular culture that people may relate to. Here he has got King Lear. Let's see what he says here. Difficulties become evil from our perspective when they go against our desires. When misfortune breaks our heart, leaves us hollow. Shakespeare's King Lear controlled all of Britain. Yet the one desire in his heart and the thing he wanted most was to be loved by his kids. By the way, they made a movie about this. King Lear has got 3 terrible daughters. Anthony Hopkins. Failing to gain this love, he goes mad. We cannot console Lear by telling him that about the goodness of human free will. It is a bit abstract to him at the moment. It is true, but it isn't soothe the burn. He could ask, what's in it for me? Why must I face such hardship? SubhanAllah, we're just ignorant. That's why. Like, why you face a hardship? It's because Allah knows what would have happened if you didn't face that hardship. You would have ended up with a far worse hardship. If somebody says, well, why not just create a world without hardship? He did. It's called heaven. You want it? You have to earn it. Why do I have to earn it? Well, anything good is earned. Literally anything good has to be earned. The angels have been given an existence in which there is zero pain, zero need for rizq. They don't chase money. They don't chase food. Yet it was their love of Allah Ta'ala was as excellent as it is, has limits. Their love of Allah did not come through any effort of their own. Our love of Allah comes through a lot of hardship that we go through to prove it. That's the difference. That's why Allah created humans. So let's see. Lear is almost completely at fault for his own situation. But even then, how should he interpret it and reason with it so that it offers something other than heartbreak? What's the way out? Life becomes unbearable for him, right? And he goes on King Lear example. It's a good section, very good section on this. So that's the book. Get it from meccabooks.com/pearls. And I'll keep you all updated on when the stock is running out. I'll keep you all updated on that. Let's go to the New York Times. And let's, Ahmad, why don't you fire up a screenshot here? Wireless device explodes in Lebanon. New York Times, the unnamed, the redacted are added again. And this time, it's pretty clear, though. There isn't any, it's not targeted. No, I didn't send it. Just click on New York NYT and then, this is not targeted. That's what we know as a fact. It's not targeted. For a second day, handheld communication devices exploded across Lebanon and in the southern suburbs of the capital, Beirut, in an apparent attack on Hezbollah. So far, 14 people killed, 450 injured. Wireless devices. Okay, they keep talking about held by members of Hezbollah. No, this is indiscriminate. It was literally freights that pagers, and now it's other things. What did he say here? It's other things today. That is not limited. Now, pagers, you could say, okay, fine. Who uses beepers except for an underground organization? Or not underground, but they don't want to be revealed. They want to make sure that nobody intercepts their calls, etc. So, okay, fine. Let's pass that one. What about today? Far more things. Regular cell phones. Far more things have been. This is coordinated attack came as the country reeled from a similar operation the day before that blew up thousands of pagers. Israeli military did not respond to requests for comment. Do we need comment? And are they going to say anything other than lies? Now it's handheld devices. These things blew up in people's hands and pockets and faces if they were holding it up. Now tell me something. How is this? What is the trickle or ripple effect of all this? Explain to me how. What is airport security going to look like now? Right? I mean, wouldn't it be a disaster now?
There are a couple of airlines that have already stopped flights.
They've stopped flights for what?
From Israel.
From
Airlines because of security purposes.
So, but if these guys are intercepting packages of tech, of whatever, tech gadgets, stopping them, intercepting them, lacing them, then seal it back up and send it out again. Like, what is secure? Like, what's secure then, if that's the case? How do you ensure such security at this point? So far, 14 people have been killed, 450 wounded. People are yelling, turn your phones off, turn your pagers off. Thousands are attending mass funerals now, or not mass, but they're having multiple funerals a day, at one time, I mean. Why are they calling Hezbollah a militant group based in Lebanon? Isn't that what Lebanon, don't they need to defend themselves at this point? I mean, the government can't do it. The Lebanese government has no ability. Someone's got to defend them. Terrible. Disgusting state of fear that they're in, all of them. Because just extrapolate where this is headed. You can't trust any device that you own anymore. Shay Ajib, seriously. It's very Ajib. It's not Ajib, it's just, you really wonder. It's beyond Ajib. Where is this headed? We're going to have a lot of Q&A today because we didn't do. a lot of Q&A. Someone asked, how many pages is the book? It's about 150 pages. It's 148 pages to be precise. It's 148 pages, hardcover. If you're one of those people who takes this, the leaf off or whatever they call this, what do they call this? The book cover off. It does have the title here. It has the title here on the side. Nice little Safina side. Look, what's that, Omar? In the middle there. That's how it looks like when you take the leaf off or whatever they call this cover. Some people hate books with these covers, but the cover's really nice. You have to admit that, right? You got to admit this is like one of the nicest covers. You're going to get this book and put it out just like that. That is one of the prettiest pictures. Pearls in the deep. We'll read a little bit of it every day. Someone saying here, Sheikh Asrar is going to plan to debate the Qadianis. What's there to debate with them? But I'll watch and root for him, no doubt about it. But what is there to debate? These people don't even know how to read the Quran. You seen this? You guys been the Imam for 60 years. There's not one clip of him reciting a Quranic verse. What have you been doing for 60 years? Yeah, they're Khalifa. All he's got is the look. That's it.
There's a video of him doing Fatiha and it's terrible. Like, it's really bad. No tajweed, nothing.
Pull it up. No, there's types. Qadiani, are they a threat to anybody? Does anyone really pay attention to this stuff? I mean, they're on. They come onto Twitter and they cause mashakil, but is anyone really, Shaji? Bring het.
It's like a gnat. Astaghfirullah. What is this? Alright.
Let's see this guy. This is their alleged Khalifa. Well, he is their Khalifa. Billahi. And you're the Khalifa. Billahi. Lam is mufakham. Lam mufakham. I never heard that. No, I'm telling you, the lambs are off. Everything's mufakham with this guy. No, Melody, this is not. Pause for a second. This is a guy calling him. This is the guy who believes in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as a prophet. This is not a regular person having effort. Okay. شيء عجيب كل حاجة مفخمة مدود extend whatever you want to extend افعل ولا حرج هات إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Why does this feel like the annual recitation of Fatiha? It's like it only happens once. But the audio was off the whole time, but they heard. It was on halfway. They probably heard a little bit from the TV. Okay, so I mean, the only good thing is a very good trimming of the beard. That's it. Other than that, and a very, I guess, colorful turban there, but or nicely wrapped. But look, can't possibly have. Listen, I think Omar K has it. He's got his own laws on prophethood. He's got his own laws on tajweed too. Right? Why do you follow our rules of tajweed? Let's go to the hadith segment that we do. From Imam an-Nawawi's work, he says, discusses the Hasan hadith. Now, the Hasan hadith, there are a number of definitions for it. But ultimately, it is a sound hadith that we can use, except one or more of the narrators is good, and his dabt is good, not great. Right? There's a slight, very minor imperfection in his dabt. Like, as an example, when he lists things in comparison to the sound narrator, maybe he lists things out of order. Or maybe he'll list 4 things and not 5. But the 4 will be correct. The items will be correct. The things he lists will be correct. But maybe not in the same order. Maybe missing one. So we do use Hasan Hadith as evidence for sure. No doubt about that. Now keep in mind that when you study Hadith, you study the transmission and the grading. The transmission will be either mutawatir or ahad. It will be so vast that it is impossible to have deemed it a lie. There are around 80 word for word mutawatir hadith, and 300 by meaning. Meaning that the Prophet ﷺ gave the same message in different wording throughout his time in Medina or in Mecca. And so Sahaba, they transmit all with different wording, but the same meaning. That's about 300 hadith are mutawatir by meaning, and about 80 word for word. Of course, who gathered all this in a book? As-Suyuti. So he gathers them word for word, and then he gathers the ones that are mutawatir by meaning. So now, if it's not mutawatir, then it's ahad. The ahad, now you have to investigate it, and you end up with 5 conditions for sihha, for it to be sahih. And if it's missing one of them, it's daif. But all the sahih hadith, from amongst them are some hadith that they're neither at the perfect transmissions, nor are they daif, and that's the hasan. Meaning that at least one of the narrators, his competence in transmission is good, not great. So for purposes of law and aqidah, if you see hasan, go with it. It suffices. And the madan of al-hasan, the location of al-hasan, he's going to talk about that. Madan is like, where do we find these? So he says, Khattabi says, huwa ma urifa makhrajuh. That Khattabi says it's a hadith that, number one, we know where it's coming from. Connected chain. Everyone can be identified. Ishtahara rijalu. All of the men in the chain are known. وعليه مدار أكثر الحديث. And this is the bulk of hadith. ويقبله أكثر العلماء. The majority of scholars accept it. ويستعمله عامة الفقهاء. And the bulk of jurists use it as evidence. قال الشيخ هو قسمان أحدهما لا يخلو إسناده من مستور لم تتحقق أهليته وليس مغفلا كثير الخطأ ولا ظهر منه سبب مفسق سبب فسق. So he's somebody that the narrator here, the narrators are known, and there's no reason to reject their transmissions. And he doesn't have a lot of mistakes, and there's no reason to reject his transmission. ويكون متن الحديث معروفا برواية مثله أو نحوه من وجه آخر. And that what they're transmitted is found elsewhere. الثاني أن يكون رواية مشهورة. That the transmission is something known. Oh, sorry. راويه مشهورا. يعني يكون the actual words are connected here. The nun and the ra, and there should be a space there in this text. ويكون راويه مشهورا. Oh, by the way, I was wrong about the i'rab yesterday. Reading about the green stalks, and what I didn't realize was that it was فعل لم يسمى فاعله. Oh, it was نائب فاعل. That's why it was مرفوع. It was marfu' because it was na'ib fa'al. I'm like, why is this object marfu', but it wasn't an object. It was na'ib fa'il. So that's why it was marfu'. Huh? In ma'na, it's an object, yeah. So when you're reading really quickly, when you realize that, hold on, no, it's na'ib fa'il. Anyway, that's a little grammar thingy. Because I listened to it yesterday, I was like, oh, no, it's supposed to be marfu'. I was mistaken. Okay. ويكون راويه مشهورا بالصدق والأمانة ولم يبلغ درجة الصحيح لقصوره في الحفظ والإتقان. So here it is, the main line. The narrators of these hadiths are known for trustworthiness. So their adala is good. الصدق والأمانة. Adala is good. However, his itqan, his competence in transmitting perfectly, is less than the sahih. So he's like a B plus A minus student. وهو مرتفع عن حال من يعد تفرده منكرا ثم الحسن كالصحيح في الاحتجاج. So he is far higher than the one that you would reject. And the Hasan is just like the Sahih in ihtijaj. Ihtijaj means use as evidence. We can fully use it as evidence. وإن كان دونه في القوة. Even if it's in the actual strength and the competence, it's a little less. Okay? ولهذا أدرجته طائفة من نوع الصحيح. So much so that some of the scholars put this as a type of sahih, a subcategory of sahih hadiths. وقولهم حديث حسن الإسناد أو صحيحه دون قولهم حديث صحيح أو حسن لأنه قد يصح أو يحسن الإسناد دون المتن لشذوذ أو علة. When they say حديث حسن الإسناد أو صحيح دون قولهم حديث صحيح أو حسن لأنه قد يصح أو يحسن الإسناد دون المتن لشذوذ أو علة فإن اقتصر على ذلك حافظ معتمد فالظاهر صحة المتن وحسنه. وأما قول الترمذي وغيره حديث حسن صحيح, when Tirmidhi and others say حسن صحيح, the meaning is روي بإسنادين, it's been transmitted with two chains. One is sahih and the other is hasan. Next page. Then we're going to do the Q&A, then the Wednesday dua. وأما تقسيم البغوي أحاديث المصابيح. The ahadith of al-Masabih divided by al-Baghawi into Hasan and Sahih. مريدا بالصحاح ما في الصحيحين. When he says something is sahih, he means it is what is in the صحيحين Bukhari and Muslim. وبالحسن ما في السنن فليس بصواب. في السنن الصحيح والحسن والضعيف والمنكر. So no one could say that sahih is what's in Bukhari and Muslim. That's correct. But no one could say that Hasan hadith is found in the Sunan. No. The Sunan, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, these four Sunan, famous books, have in it Sahih, Hasan, Da'if, and even some Munkar. So that's not accurate to say Bukhari and Muslim are filled with Sahih hadiths, while the other four are filled with Hasan hadiths. That's not how it works. Because the other four have a number of types of hadiths. أحدها كتاب الترمذي أصل في معرفة الحسن وهو الذي شهره. Tirmidhi is a source to know what the Hasan hadith looks like, and he's the one who made it famous. تختلف النسخ منه في قوله حسن أو صحيح ونحوه, and the editions, manuscripts differ. Sometimes in one says Hasan, one another says Sahih. فينبغي أن تعتني بمقابلة أصلك بأصول معتمدة. So when you have a Tirmidhi, you need to compare it, because what's spread, there are differences in what he said is Hasan and what he said is Sahih. So you have to compare it with the reliable manuscripts. Of course, we're not going to do that. The book editors are entrusted to do that. When they do take a manuscript and render it into a publication. وَمِن مَظَانِّهِ Sunan Abi Dawud. One of the locations of Hasan Hadith is the Sunan of Abu Dawud. فقد جاء عنه أنه يذكر فيه الصحيح وما يشبهه ويقاربه وما كان فيه وهن بينه شديد بينه. There's a dal missing there. وما كان فيه وهن شديد بينه. So Abu Dawud, he brought in it what is sahih and close to it. But if it has weakness, he clarifies it. وَمَا لَمْ يَذْكُرْ فِيهِ شَيْئًا فَهُوَ صَالِحٌ. And if Abu Dawud mentions a hadith and he doesn't mention anything after it, it's a good hadith. صالح. فعلى هذا ما وجدنا في كتابه مطلقا ولم يصحح غيره من المعتمدين ولا ضعفه فهو حسن عند أبي داود. So what you find in Abu Dawud that somebody else hasn't said is sahih. So he's the only one who brings it. And he doesn't comment on it. Then it's Hasan. So if you want to know Madhanul Hadith al-Hasan, so far he says go to Tirmidhi and then go to Abu Dawud. The bulk of those hadith will be what's called al-Hasan. What's the third one? Where you can find that the bulk of the hadith are categorized with this category of called Hasan. وَأَمَّا مُسْنَدْ Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal وَأَبِي دَاوُود الطَّيَالِسِي. Two Musnad. This is Abu Dawud is not the same Abu Dawud. There's two different Abu Dawuds. Abu Dawud al-Tayalisi wrote a Musnad, not a Sunan. This Abu Dawud is the Cjiistani. You know, we have a place called Cjist here. I just call it Cjiistan, right? Right? Give it an Islamic name, right? Abu Dawud, right? It's called Cjiistan. MashaAllah, we have a lunch with those brothers. Jummah, inshallah. Yeah. All the institutes here, we like to get along, and we do that by eating together. We'll be meeting with the different imams that teach in different institutes and masajid. We're going to be meeting at Mihrab's new restaurant. Khurasan, it's called. Khurasan, Cjiistan, everything, right? Mihrab's new restaurant. Beautiful restaurant in Metuchen, New Jersey. Metuchen this is Edison, big city called Edison, which the Hindus have taken over. In the middle of Edison, there's a town, which is really weird. It's like Edison, and then inside of Edison is Metuchen. Metuchen is really nice, right? And there's it's the best downtown area in Central Jersey is Metuchen. Probably even better than Princeton's. There's a bunch of stuck-up snobs, right? But they do have some nice ice cream over there, and they have some other nice restaurants. But Metuchen is one of the nicest downtown areas. And our friend Mihrab, he opened up a Afghani restaurant there. It's really good, beautiful sitting, right? And we're gonna go. There's a majlis where it's raised and you sit on the floor, and the whole thing is a window that opens up to the street, so you get some fresh air. It's very nice.
That's beautiful. The best seating, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't like tables.
Yeah. Omar has moved, by the way. Omar used to be seated right there on a desk with screens everywhere. Now he's gone Zuhd mode and he's on the floor, and he made himself a little desk, little tiny table desk with 2x4s and a flat piece of wood, and he's sitting there. He's the first DJ, radio guy, producer to be on the floor. He is the most humble producer. Okay? So Abu Dawud al-Tayalisi is different from Abu Dawud, the other Abu Dawud, Sahib al-Sunan. So he says, he lists now two more books, Musnad Ahmad, Sunan Abi Dawud al-Tayalisi. Right. وغيرهما من المسانيد. إذا كان راوي الحديث متأخرا عن درجة الحافظ الضابط مشهورا بالصدق والستر فروي حديثه من غير وجه قوي وارتفع من الحسن إلى الصحيح. So when you have a narrator who's very well known for his sidq, he's honest, but he's less متأخر درجة عن درجة الحافظ الضابط. He cannot say he's a حافظ ضابط. He cannot say he's an A plus or a high A in hadith. But what he narrates has been found everywhere, has been found in many other places. Then such a hadith goes up from Hasan to Sahih. And that's what they call Sahihun لغيره. Sahih because of it has so many collections. Another definition. وإذا روي الحديث من وجوه ضعيفة لا يلزم أن يحصل من مجموعها حسن بل ما كان ضعفه لضعف حفظ راويه الصدوق الأمين زال بمجيئه من وجه آخر وصار حسنا وكذا إذا كان ضعفه بالإرسال زال بمجيئه من وجه آخر وأما الضعف لفسق الراوي فلا يؤثر فيه موافقة غيره. So where the narrator, his adala, his uprightness is good, but in his narration he's considered weak. He has mistakes in his narration. But in this case, he narrates something that many others narrated. So by itself, his hadith is daif. By itself, it's daif. But when we find it in many other places, it goes up to the level of hasan. However, if it's daif because of the adala, the uprightness of the narrator, then it doesn't matter. It will always, that chain will always be daif. So the dabt, if a person's accuracy is affected, it can be cured. It can be cured by other narrations, and his hadith will be elevated. But if his adala is not, it's attacked, then nothing helps. Okay, let's see the picture Omar picked for me this time around. Let's see, Omar. What do you think? So, hey, yes or no?
No, it's good.
Well, not bad? Okay, good.
It can't be a smile because of the topic.
Ah, that's true. Very true.
I only pick smiles.
So should I make a mean face then? Here, how's that?
Normal.
There, boom.
It would be so bad taste if it's like talking about people dying.
Of course, 100%. 100%.
Look, this is good, right? 'Cause you love
That's true. Here, look at the screen now. How's that mean face?
No, I already got it.
Okay. Yeah, put this. Here, take a mean face. Or how about this? Shocked. What are you doing? Blowing people up like this. Week 2 passed. We didn't do the NFL report, by the way. I do have a comment on the NFL. We're going to watch now the Chiefs go through the league. When you're the Bengals, anyone here from Cincinnati? Anyone here a fan of the Bengals? You cannot miss an extra point against the Chiefs. You cannot leave those points on the board. I'm sitting there, and I only let myself watch TV if I'm on the treadmill. That's the rule. You want candy? Eat vegetables first, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, the Bengals, you just missed an extra point. You cannot miss extra points against the old Patriots. You can't miss those little things, right? Cannot have that. Cannot happen. Lo and behold, they lose by 1, right? They lost by 1. If they had made that extra point, then the final kick would have tied the game. Let's go to Q&A for a little bit, and then we close on our dua of Wednesday. Green jacket guy says doctors in hospitals always carry pagers. Psh. So pagers are a lot more, popular than we think. Yeah, Crimson Flare is correct. I mean, the guy makes up his own prophecy. He makes up. Why didn't he make up his own tajweed rules? You would expect an imam, if you're the Khalifa of a whole sect, type at least study the Quran a little bit. Muslim countries need to start manufacturing their own devices. There's a saying back in the day. The Arab nations import everything from the needle to the missile. They don't produce anything. Let me ask a question. What does Egypt, let's say, produce besides fool and kahk?
Don't they have like cotton or something? Or what is it?
We're supposed to have the best cotton in the world. We're supposed to have the best honey in the world. Right? Cotton, the best cotton in the world comes out of Egypt.
Forget the material stuff. Even the culture is imported.
Mm-hmm. When your culture is imported, when your mind is, your epistemology is imported. You're secularists. It's imported. How many hours per week should be dedicated for ArcView Essentials? Big baller Brandon, I think you should take 2 classes a week. Just because of your name. You're not nobody. You're big baller Brandon. So you at least got to take 2 classes a week. Right? Elaborate on the high rank Imam Ahmad's Musnad, says Onyx Cheney. Imam Ahmad's Musnad, first of all, it has 40,000 entries around. Imam Ahmad's Musnad, many people have attempted to re-chapterize it by Bab. So how is it chaptered now? By the narrator. It's organized by narrators. He begins with the 4 Khalifas, then Ahl al-Bayt, and then those who attended Badr. They made the Hijrah, then those who attended Badr, then those who attended Uhud, and so on and so forth. That's what a Musnad does. It narrates by narrator. Whereas the Sunan are chaptered by legal books. So what's the first thing? It's usually Iman. Aqidah, basically. Then knowledge. Then tahara, then salah, then som, zakah, hajj, dhaba'ih, meats and foods, then marriage, divorce, financial transactions, war, conflict, court rulings, things like that. Everything related to governance, then inheritance. And then sometimes it goes into now other subjects that won't fit in legal chapters like zuhd, asceticism, tafsir, hadiths related to tafsir, manaqib, virtues of different companions, virtues of different cities like Mecca, virtues of Medina, virtues of Quds. Those extra chapters like that are not neither aqidah nor fiqh. Oh, here we go. Camera's out, but we'll keep going anyway with voice only. But it's not even hot today. Ajib. So the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, many people have attempted to re-chapterize the whole book and put it in the form of abwab, like this. Imam Ahmad uses hadiths that he doesn't necessarily use in his law. He puts hadith that reliable jurists utilized. That's his condition. That reliable jurists utilize. It's back, Omar. Omar.
Yeah, it's back, but it's overheating.
It's overheating. Bring the fan. Okay. That's Imam Ahmad's Musnad. A lot of praises of Sayyidina Ali and Ahl al-Bayt are derived from that. Next question. Someone, please answer AQ's store. What? AQ? Who's that? AQ's question? Is it permissible for men to wear manly leather bracelets? Probably the madhabs differ, but in the Maliki school, we're not allowed to wear jewelry. And would a leather bracelet be jewelry? I believe so. Because if it has a function, it's not considered jewelry. A watch has a function. A necklace that has your keys on it and your belongings is not jewelry. So if it has a function, it's not jewelry. People who need to use necklaces to carry stuff. Like a worker is working all day and throws it on his neck. That's not considered jewelry.
You know the Sikhs, they have like the silver...
silver wrist.
They use it for blocking swords.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
I mean, now they use it to drive an Uber.
I know. Yeah, I guess just in case. Hook up the fan just in case. Rezel says iPhones, walkie-talkies, intercoms, and other electronics have exploded in Lebanon. Yeah, we read from that early on. A precedent that I think is going to change a lot of the way things are done. It has to be, right? Like, if you can't trust anything anymore, then you're creating a worldwide panic. When you do that, that's only the work of devils. Let's create a worldwide panic. How to approach the beliefs of 12er Shia family as an older son. That's a tough one. Train Skin Fly is asking. This is his name. Very tough. Very tough. I would probably not open the can of worms of debate, because what you'll do is actually just make them more stubborn. That's what debate does. And it makes your opponent research more and get better at their heresy. So I would actually not do that if I were you. And if it's family and you live with them, you're going to have to play the long game with them. I don't think that you should hide your beliefs. That is the very good Shia thing to do, but I wouldn't hide your beliefs, because that's also going to be a problem. Eventually, you have to come out and say, I'm a Sunni. Eventually. Because otherwise, how long are you going to keep hiding it? Maybe you can ask them, but probably know best how to keep hiding stuff. It's their taqiyya is part of their religion, right? So, but eventually, it's not part of ours. Eventually, you got to say the right? You got to eventually you got to say the truth. But I wouldn't debate them. I would just be good, and I would play the long game with your family. Over the years and decades, they see that, you know, how that this has improved your life. It made you better. And for that, you need a lot of tazkiyah of your nafs. Tazkiyah of your nafs and learning knowledge, just in case they want to ask questions. How much money should a man save before he gets married? He should have money for the sadaq, which is the dowry. He should have money for the walima. He should have money for the furnishing of the house. In Egypt, they tend to be 50-50 in marriage relationships, right? It tends to be 50-50. Not in the income. I'm saying in the furnishing. Don't get me wrong. Not in income. I'm saying when they furnish the house, the wife's family will help with certain things, the husband's family will help. In Syria, I was told, everything is on the husband. The whole furnishing of the house. This stuff is urfi. It's cultural, right? It's cultural. So you do have to furnish the house, though. And then you have to have enough money and income to support all this every month. So, hey, let me ask you a question. which side is jutting out more, this or this?
On the screen?
Both. What's your eye test?
There's no light.
Yeah, it looks like it died out.
Kind of equal. It looks like you're.
Because look, this seems to be higher on the screen than this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So that means this needs to be pushed back or this needs to be pushed forward.
You're saying that
That's not the camera.
it might be the camera.
It could be the camera, it could be the floor. But it's one of these like pet peeves that to me, I see it going up this way
You're talking about the black
and down.
right?
Yeah. Shaji.
Slight. It's very, very slight.
Very slight. How to practically get rid of laziness, says Muhammad Rayhan. Get a job where you have to be there. Any job that's solitary, like a writer, for example, you have to motivate yourself to get up and write. But if you have a job where you have to show up, that breaks your laziness. What do you have advice for people who want to study in Mauritania? I cannot give advice to something that I didn't do. فَاقَدُ الشَّيْءِ لَا يُعْطِيهِ. But my advice is talk to Sheikh Rami Mansour. Contact Taiba Foundation. And Nabil, who works as the director of Taiba Foundation, he went to Mauritania. He can give you advice. You can call us and we'll connect you to Sheikh Murabit Benavides. He went to Mauritania. He can give you advice. So talk to somebody who has been there. Probably the most recent is the most beneficial.
How's it look?
Well, it looks like we just went through an earthquake. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think you got it.
The stream is like behind it.
I know. Keep going. Oh, it's lagging. So my talking to you is making it.
Like an old me.
Yeah, I'm talking to old you. That's good. Perfect. You did it. Wonderful. Wonderful. Very good. Would you advise that your first Umrah be with a knowledgeable group? 100%. Don't go by yourself. In your first Umrah, go with a group. Any advice for a convert new Muslim? Yeah, I think the best thing to do is an on-site, in-person friend group that will help you navigate everything you learn. So be smart about who you select as a friend. And when you select somebody as a friend and as a group that I trust these people, I like these people, then when you learn something, show them. Hey, is this right? Is this wrong? I think stability is the most important thing. It's going to be very hard for you to figure everything out right away. But be selective about your friend group. Up to the point, and when what you see online, and when you read in books, always go back to them. Yeah.
With respect to introducing people to different things, if someone is not inclined, or not necessarily inclined, but not familiar with, say, dhikr or group dhikr, what's the best way to introduce them to that as a whole?
Dhikr and group dhikr. Nasheeds and qasidas.
So inviting them to attend, is that the
Yeah.
best way?
Invite to attend. Yeah. Can you please make dua for I get a good job? May Allah Ta'ala give you a solid job and open the doors of rizq for you. If you want the doors of rizq to be opened, wake up early. Even if you go back to sleep, at least wake up early for that period of time. As the sun is rising, when you pray Fajr, this whole sunrise, you should be awake at that time. Even if you let's say your shift is like from later on, then you have no reason to wake up early. But at least wake up for the period from Fajr to Duha. Duha starts in when the sun, 20 minutes after Ishraq. 20 minutes after so see when his Fajr is out, let's say hypothetically at 6:05, 6:25, so be up minimum for 6:30. That period of time, either doing dhikr or doing work, right? The blessing is in that period of time. How do I get rid of huge debt with interest? You can apply for zakah. Yeah, you can apply for zakah. You can apply for zakah for the principal and pay off the principal with that. What does Arabic class start with Sheikh Mahdi Laq? Arabic with Mahdi Laq September 28th. Is it permissible to return salam to a non-Muslim who said it correctly? I don't want to speak on the four madhabs. I have to ask about that. But what I understand is that it's the salam is specific for the Muslims. That's the well-known thing that you... Actually, I haven't actually seen it in a book of fiqh. I want to see it. It's probably in the Bab Jama at the end.
You can just say wa alaikum, right? Without
Yeah,
salam.
you say wa alaikum. Is your online Awalim class open to under 17? Yes, you can. Essentials, I teach a class on Sunday. Even if you're under 17, but if you understand, you can attend it. What is the ruling in Masjid Fard prayer? Sometimes I notice a brother is moving away and I keep filling the gap. If someone, his shoulder is not touching you, then you may signal to him to come closer to you. And if it's a child, you can even pull him a little bit to come closer to you. But you only really need to do this once. If they do it a second and a third and a fourth, khalas, now it's going to be laghu in your prayer. A lot of movement that's unnecessary. And it's shoulder to shoulder is what you should worry about. Maya Rehab is out of Massachusetts, one of our best ArcView students. She's finished Sister Hala's classes, and now she's ready to take the adult classes. She's probably now an adult. Young adult now. Started when she was like 10. 5 years ago. She's probably like 14, 15 now. Why do people back up when making up misrakas? I don't know. There's no rule for that. I mean, maybe you just saw that, but there's no rule for that. You have a question? Yeah. Speak it.
What's the best form of salawat to perform if you want to do in large quantities?
Okay, that's a good question. What is the best form of salawat to do if you want to do large quantities? And Habib Omar said, it's whatever settles in your heart and inspires your heart most. And if you want the shortest one, Allahumma salli wa sallim alayh.
They all have the same reward? They all have the same reward?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Classes for under 10. Where can I find it? Under 10 classes are, says Bilal Mir, is with Mu'in. Mu'in. So on Essentials, you go to Mu'in. You communicate with him on WhatsApp. And then he has classes once a week, Sundays. And there are youth classes that are recorded that you could watch too. All right, is this a cheetah or is it a jaguar? This phone case. Is it a leopard, a cheetah, or a jaguar? I really don't know. We had this debate today. Is it a cheetah, jaguar, or a leopard? I think it's a cheetah too. This is permitted in the Maliki school, by the way. It's not a full body and it has no shadow. Our Hanafi madhab is different, right? Because I have received many calls for repentance in the masjid for this.
I have one other question, quickly.
Yeah.
With respect to professional things like LinkedIn.
Is his mic on? Turn this Sohaib's mic on.
Okay.
Yeah.
With respect to platforms like LinkedIn,
Yeah.
if you know that someone who's reached out to you is a major fasik or is indig, but there's some business angle that you can use to your advantage in some way, form, or fashion, is it permissible to accept that connection?
Yeah, it is permissible.
It is permissible.
When you do tijara, buying and selling, you don't have to ask if this person, what his deen and aqid is when you buy and sell. Like, for example, if I need someone to do IT for me, I don't need to check his religious background. I don't need to check his... If it comes to me that this guy is going to donate money to the Hindu, whatever, blah, 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 that harms Muslims. If that comes to me reliably, then at that point I won't do tijara with him. But him just being a Hindu or just being Jewish, just being something is irrelevant to me. It has to be clear to me that he's gonna do something bad. Then at that point I won't do tijara with him. But I don't even have to ask. You don't have to ask. Imams al-Subki and Nawawi in their Aqidah, and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Muhammad Rayhan saying. Is there even a discussion on there for this? There's no discussion needed in their reliability in the deen overall as imams. And in Nawawi, most of all of them, that what you mentioned. Ibn Hajar, of course, too. Nobody ever has attacked their deen, their aqidah, their adherence to the sunnah. Sunnah here, I mean, in all matters. The sunnah regarding aqidah, and the sunnah regarding the manhaj in general, the usul. No discussion on this. Waste Fuzzle doesn't like the phone case. Huh? It's a great phone case. It's a great phone case. It's a Bengali tiger according to some people, a cheetah according to some people. There's a ikhtilaf. Not a cheetah. Murad says, wife said, divorce me. Husband said, okay. No, he did not divorce yet. She says, just let's look at the language here. Give me $100. You said, okay. Do I have $100 now? No, it didn't happen yet. Where can we find Friday night at MBIC? You can find it on Mixler, Safina Society's Mixler channel. Can I return the salam to a woman? Yes, you may. Yes. I don't think that that's in general. If an auntie comes and says assalamu alaikum, first I can say wa alaikum assalam, right? If someone who is a fatana comes and says assalamu alaikum, you could say wa alaikum assalam without looking at the person if she's a fitna. Is ilm al-huruf haram according to the Maliki madhab? Yes, we don't do that. Ilm al-huruf. You talking about ilm al-huruf like grids for protection? Numerology grids? Is that what you're talking about? We don't really do that. What principles should a person keep in mind when interacting with the opposite gender online? Messaging and stuff can lead to talk that's not appropriate and hearts that getting attached to each other in ways that's not appropriate, so you should avoid those. And I don't think any guy has any business following a sister's Instagram page and then commenting on every picture she puts. First of all, you're not going to get you anywhere. That you're just going to look like a creep when you do that. If someone has immodest photos online, is it a right of one seeking marriage to see and know what they will have to deal with from others if they marry? Says the kinetic nomad. Well, the online is like a public sphere. If you put out something out there, if I hire somebody, if I want to marry somebody, if I want to get involved with somebody, I would research about them. Right? I would research about them. So yes, I would go online and see what they're all about. And if I see that their social media page, that this is what they put without any shame, and it's bad, then I wouldn't marry them. There's nothing wrong with doing a social media search. That's their public behavior, essentially. Nothing wrong with that. Here's Soundscapade says, my Muslim friend married a Christian woman. Now her family wants to baptize their baby. Any advice for the brother on how to handle this issue? Well, he needed to be seeking it. Firstly, he needed to seek that advice well in advance to plan. Let's say, okay, you're going to marry this Christian woman. All right, we have statements about that. It's makruh in this kind of land. Highly makruh in this kind of country where you don't have control over things and the courts are not going to care about the deen. But at least you should have made things pretty clear from the get-go. The kids will be Muslim and agreed to that. Now you didn't do that. Or you did, but the other family really doesn't respect it. Now it's a bit late to be coming and asking about this, but ultimately at the end of the day, they can want to baptize the baby all they want. You want something is different from you doing something. So I think that he's got his work cut out for him. Is it haram to cut my sides and leave the top hair? Ahmed Abdullah Don't tell me you're going to do one of those mushroom cuts where your hair is like a big mop at the top. You know, this haircut's getting more and more popular. What is it called? Not a skin fade. No. It's like they totally cut the sides, but they leave a mop at the top. Yeah, it's like a mushroom. Yeah, and they curl it too. So that's we have we read, I think, before on the stream that in the Maliki school the qada is the problem. Qada.
Sheikh Hamza mentioned that I think he was talking about the other night. He said that the Nazis had haircuts like that.
Yeah.
Shave up the sides and the top was left.
The problem with the qaza, not qada, qaza. Let's see if that article's up. Qaza. It's first of all makruh. That's number one. So it's not haram. It's makruh. That's the first thing. Secondly, what is the interpretation of what the Prophet meant by this qaza? Is it a skin fade? According to the Malikiya, the answer is no. Qaza, sorry, not qada. It's not just the fact of having a skin fade. No, that's not what it is. It's the unevenness. So he saw a baby whose half the head was shaved here and the other half was left. So that, according to An-Nafrawi, and I can read that too. I mean, I have it with me. Let's pull it up here. Let me pull it up. An-Nafrawi on this subject, which we covered, I think, some while back. Let me pull it up real quick. It's not about the part being short and part being long. That's not what qaza is about. Qaza is about unevenness in the haircut. I'm just giving you this madhab, the Maliki school. It's deep into one of the final chapters of a Risal of Ibn Abi Zayd. I thought we had put it up in MFQA, Maliki Fiqh QA. I thought we had put that up there. Let's see. We also have a clip on that too, on qaza. I want to get you though the exact quote though. What's qaza in the Hanafi school, Omar?
I haven't researched on this.
Okay, I don't see it here. We're gonna have to upload this, that question here, but ultimately, it's not just trimming the sides and having the top long is not the issue. The issue is the unevenness. We'll get the whole thing and make a clip out of it. We already answered it. There's a clip, but we can answer it again, just for the sake of it. Dear admin, sometimes comment section can get a little messy, and it's a breeding ground for non-healthy, potentially mudil discussions. You know that our comment section, it's a war zone in YouTube. It is a war zone. I'm telling you, I had a friend, he said, let me in so I could just delete. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to let this person in. So just delete. Can you make dua by raising hands after the Fard Salah? Yes, you can. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, after Fard Salah is the best time to make dua. The Prophet ﷺ was asked what dua is most heard. He said the one in the middle of the night and the one at the end of the prayer. His wording wasn't clear whether he meant the end of prayer or after the prayer, so the scholars said do both. Can I get an enemy waifu in Jannah? An enemy waifu? What's a waifu? What is a waifu?
It's some nerd stuff, yeah. Don't worry about it.
Waifu.
Yeah, don't worry.
Lionel Floppa. Is school out early or what? Can I get an enemy wife in Jannah?
Basically a cartoon spouse. That's how you can.
Ahmed Abdullah, how big was Egypt during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Well, when the Sahaba arrived at Egypt, the main city, was what we now call Old Cairo. And then Cairo was built after that, way after that, many years after that, expanded into what we now know as Cairo. But when you go to Old Cairo, that's the area which the Sahaba used to term Fustat. And so that's where they sat. When the Sahaba would go to a new territory, they wouldn't go into this people's city and take over their city. They'd make their own city. And sometimes they lived in the city, like Damascus. But Iraq, they made their own city, Kufa. Egypt, they had a garrison town. These are garrison towns. What is the ruling on scholars and followers who reject the return of Prophet Isa? The return of the Prophet Isa is an obligatory belief on Muslims. It's implicitly applied in the Quran, saying, وَيُكَلِّمُ النَّاسَ فِي الْمَهْدِ وَكَهْلَةِ. He will speak to people in the cradle and in old age. And we all know the Prophet Isa has not lived in old age here, and there are no people walking around in the heavens, so therefore it means on the earth he will attain old age. And there's another verse where it implies this in the Quran, saying, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. There is none from the people of the books except that they will believe in him before his death. So therefore he hasn't died yet. لَا يُؤْمِنَنَّ. They will believe in him before his death. Therefore he hasn't died yet. So he's been raised and not dead. So the ayah that some groups like to cite is إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ وَرَافِعُكَ إِلَيَّ. Mutawaffika, either it means we are making you have a deep sleep, and in that deep sleep we'll raise you up. Or it means you will die, but first you'll be raised up. Meaning it's a listing of things out of order. Or it's saying, yes, you will die a normal death, but first we're raising you up. Mutawaffika وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا جَرَحْتُمْ. He is the one who makes you have a deep sleep at night. So mutawaffika can have those two meanings. Take your life or give you a deep sleep. And Allah knows best. But such a person would put himself outside of Islam if you don't believe in the second. How about all the ahadith? You would have to reject so many hadith. If you reject one of those hadith because you don't like the content, you're going to have to reject all the hadith that come from those companions in that chain. So you can't just, they say in court, if a witness is deemed upright and an acceptable witness, you have to accept everything they say. You can't say, I don't accept, this I accept. You have to accept. So when a hadith comes that's sound, you have to accept all the other hadith that come from those sources. So now you reject the hadith about Prophet Isa, you're going to have to reject everything else in those ahadith and all those companions and tabi'een and chains that narrated other hadith too. Now you're in a big mess. That's why we don't do hadith criticism through the text. You do it through the chain. Okay. You got to run? Okay, go ahead. Take care. Welcome salam. Here's Abu Hassan asking, is it acceptable to slaughter an animal while its feet is hanging on a hook next to another animal hanging on a hook? A'udhu billah. Firstly, it is haram to do such a thing. But the slaughter is valid. There is a concept of sinful but valid. Let me give you an example of sinful but valid. If I pray a perfect prayer, I did everything I should do by the book, but the whole time I was watching TV. My prayer technically is valid. What will Allah accept from it? Allah knows best. Very little. But I was sinful in watching TV. So likewise, when people slaughter in the incorrect manner, but they do slaughter, a valid slaughter, but the discouragements and prohibitions are surrounding it, such as sharpening the knife in front of the animal, taunting the animal, maybe slaughtering it in front of other animals, putting a dead animal in front of the animal. So all of these are sinful, bad deeds that I'm doing. Torture to the animal, and then, but the animal itself, the meat is valid to be eaten. It's halal. How does a man who took a lot of money from his parents and profited fix it if they died without him paying it back? Settle debt with the state? Correct. Yes. So, you borrowed from your parents $100,000. Your parents die. Your $100,000 became $400,000 because of your business. $300,000 is yours. $100,000 has to go back into the estate and be divided equally to everyone who deserves an inheritance. And you could calculate it yourself. And you would announce it to whoever manages their estate and say, well, what is their estate? There was debts to be paid. There were bequests. Those would have gone out anyway. And then my brother would have inherited this. My sister would have inherited that. So you owe them the money. And part of it would have went to you too, right? So you keep that part for yourself. Let's make it clean. Let's say it's 2 boys and 1 girl. That's an inheritance divided into 5 because each boy gets 2. And the sister gets 1. So let's make it $20K a pop. A share. So your brother, you owe him $40K. Your sister, you owe her $20K. And then the $40K you keep. The rest, because that would have been your inheritance. That's in the hypothetical that there's only those 3 inheritors, you and 2 others. Button Mashhar says, button masher. I need an answer quick. Okay, button masher, let's go up to that. You know what, the better technique is just to repeat the question again, then make me scroll up. I don't see button masher's question here. Yeah. Here's David Bather says, after the Bismillah, is it adequate to strike fatally with an arrow or bullet and it dies? Yes. Or is it obligatory to cut the 2 throat arteries after? As long as what you shot it with, whether it's a bullet, even if it's a rounded edge bullet or an arrow, and it bleeds out of that, that's sufficient. But if you go and you find it alive, then you have to kill it, slaughter it. If you catch up to the animal and you find that it's still alive, then you slaughter it. But if you shoot it and you catch up with it, as soon as you go there, it's dead already. Khalas, you don't need to do anything more. What is Button Masher's question? Yeah, I can't see it. Button Masher, you got to put it up. In Maliki fiqh, says Nasir, is it allowed to make dua in ruku'? La, don't do that. Makruh. If the imam prolongs in the ruku', he says, and I have spare time, keep making tasbih. Tasbih in the Maliki school is not just 3 Subhan Rabbi al-Azim. It's any tasbih as much with no limit to the number. How do you maintain tahara or purity while using English or Western toilets? So if you get splashed on, you have to wash off that najasa with water, flowing water that flows off clean. The Q&A for Jahangir is for any question. It doesn't have to be on any subject or related to fiqh. Would you recommend a new Arabic speaker to learn the Egyptian dialect? If he's going to live there, yes, so he doesn't get himself in some kind of trouble. Or just, not knowing the language of the country you're living in. And the best way to do it, the best way to do it is watching. Watching Egyptian news, Egyptian shows, etc. are taking luxury car loans allowed with Islamic finance? Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. No problem. If there's a financing option that's halal, you can buy anything with it. Is wearing a copper bracelet permissible for a man to wear? Not in the Maliki school. No. We don't wear jewelry, any jewelry, except for one ring. That's it, silver ring. Silver or any non-gold. What advice do you give to a practicing brother who is being asked by a potential for marriage to leave reading and watching ulama they don't agree with the Salafi manhaj? Or that don't agree with the Salafi manhaj. So the brother, he's proposing to, let's just take out all specifics. I believe that a husband and wife should agree on matters of religion so that you don't clash at the end of the day. Let's leave out all the specifics, right? That's a general high ground principle right there. You should agree on matters of religion. You should agree on matters of where to live. You should agree on matters of what the general overall future you want for your family. For example, we want to live here and have a family here. And what is the work that she's going to do? Is she, for example, do you have any requirements for that? Does she have any interests? You should agree on that so that you don't say, hey, I never wanted you to work full time, and you have that argument. You should agree on what is your family budget going to look like so you don't argue about that later on. So that you would say, listen, this is how much money I plan to make for life. I plan to be at this level of living for life. Versus, yeah, it's this now, but eventually in the future it's going to be way up here. So the expectation on finances should generally, of course we don't know what's going to happen, but generally you should, what your intention is should be stated, and if she agrees to that intention, then you're good to go. If she doesn't, you have a problem. What do you want in terms of children? Is there anything? I mean, is it open-ended? Is it I only want one kid? What if somebody says I don't want to have kids in the next 5 years? All those are up for discussion. That you need to agree on. Certain things have to agree on. Other things you don't have to agree on. I like camping. I like cities. I like hotels. I like nature. I like Chinese food. I like Indian food. All that is actually better for your family to be diverse because your kids grow up with a diversity in the household rather than everyone's the same. Temperament is good to be different. I'm quick to anger. She's calm, or vice versa. You improve the family when you have diversity in certain things, but other foundations have to be the same. Mm-hmm.
If you had 1 hour,
yeah,
and you want to devote yourself to doing dhikr, and you know, which one should you choose to do? Say astaghfirullah in a large quantity of times, or say the salawat?
If all I had is an hour to remember Allah, to do dhikr, then you should divide it between the Quran and the Salah on the Prophet. That's how simple it is. That's how simple I would do it. Divide it in half. Or divide it in thirds. Quran, salawat, dua. I would begin with istighfar. Just the whole thing, begin with 100 istighfar of the whole thing. And then divide it into three parts like that. How do you become a good teacher? Any dua to get the high schoolers to behave, says Seneca. So to be a good teacher, I think you have a combination of two things. Number one, the content, you need good content. But number two, you need good persuasive techniques. Persuasive techniques and entertaining techniques. It's not that you're an entertainer, you're a teacher. But you need techniques to keep them interested. And one of these techniques that I've come across lately that is important for our day and age is not to hold to one teaching method for too long. So a 1 hour lecture will be very hard. 40-minute lecture with 20 minutes Q&A for students may be too difficult. But if you break up the class into 15 or 20-minute segments, the class is always exciting. And each segment should be opposite of the other. So watching a video is a segment. Group activity is a segment. Lecture is a segment. Q&A is a segment. By breaking up the segments like this, you keep their attention span going. If you don't agree on things in a marriage, says Pendago, or a decision made, and you want a divorce, how can you be sure that you're not selfish in wanting it? Good question. Pendago, hopefully you have family members, and you could take their nasiha before making such a drastic decision, such as talking to your mom, talking to your dad. What do they think about this? Is this worthy of a divorce? There are sometimes you hear about certain things and you wonder, did you talk to anybody? Because certain things are not worthy of a divorce. For example, a texting spat between the woman and your sister. I once received that question, and I said, no, that is not material for divorce. That's not close, right? It's not material for, this is not something you divorce over. How about this one? Let's say getting yanked and dragged by your hair down the hallway. SubhanAllah. If that happened to your daughter, what would you do? And hold on, and you stayed, and you're telling me this like a month later? Who did I raise? A fool? That's different completely. So my answer to Pendago is go talk to somebody who you trust that will tell you whether you're being selfish or not. And pray a lot of istikhara. Levon Brown says, should we provide an infrastructure for Muslim politicians in the U.S.? 110%. 100%. 100%. Some Muslim politicians have mentioned they have little or no support or chaplaincy. Yeah, we should support them. Support them by telling the truth. That's the way we support them. And by also, you can't support someone if you're always just sort of putting them down, for example. So the tarbiyah of anybody, politician or otherwise, has to be with mercy, slowness, gentleness, slow and steady. Because you can get, it's fathomable. You have someone who's way off in left field and wants the truth. But they don't know any better. Or they think what they understand is the truth. So this is the only, the way to do this is slow and steady with people. If Fir'aun was told, Prophet Musa was told, go to Fir'aun with a gentle word. قُلْ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Or any of these Muslim politicians who may be advocating for something wrong, are they like Fir'aun? No. Firstly, he's trying to do something good. Secondly, if he doesn't know something, how is he going to know if you're so mean to him and you reject him? How's he going to ever know? Soundscapade in Maliki fiqh is submerging our body in water while swimming with niyyah of wudu enough, or is rubbing required? Yes, rubbing is required. Rubbing is always required. So if I go into a pool of water whose color, taste, or scent has not changed, and I dive in there, I still do have to touch my limbs, rub my limbs, my 4 major limbs of wudu, wipe the hair, rub the arms, rub the entire face, and the feet onto the ankles. What about birthday celebrations? I believe that at a matter of muru'ah, it's like the nobility of a person, or this respectability of a person, is that birthday, the older you get, the smaller it gets, right? Can you imagine in our culture, in our urf, any of our shiyukh having a party for himself at 55, 60? Even an elder in the masjid. Could I fathom someone in the first saf, oh, it's his birthday, one of these pious people who always comes to pray. Oh, it's his birthday. Oh, happy birthday. I can fathom that. Yeah, that's not a problem, right? People say something. Oh, mashallah, you look young. Blah blah blah. That's fathomable, right? But can I fathom that we're gonna go and have a party for him? No, I can't fathom that. I cannot fathom. Even the milad of the Prophet ﷺ is not a birthday party. It was ridiculous who talks like that. It is a gratitude for the greatest ni'mah that the earth has received. On that day, the earth received a ni'mah. Let me ask you a question. By the way, national holidays too are blessings if they have the right reason. For example, if your country was invaded and on this day you repelled the invaders and the invaders left, is that not worthy of gratitude every year? By qiyas, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, they fasted, the Jews fasted the day that Fir'aun was drowned. They took it as a day of shukr, the day of happiness. So it's totally fathomable that the day that we repelled the British, we repelled the French, we repelled all these people, that should be a day of shukr. It should be marked on the calendar, right? And you give shukr. Battle of Badr, all these other things. So that's not a problem at all. I don't believe that. Now, that's not a religious holiday for anyone else. It's for you only, right? So, for example, if I go into a country and they say, oh, on this day we celebrate because we repelled our invaders. We thank Allah, we give sadaqah, recite Quran, make dua, and we are happy because this is a day that we were free from our invaders. It's a national day for them. And the way they give shukr for it, those specific things you get good deeds for. Outside of that country, it's not a religious holiday, but Muslims will tend to do good deeds in it as a way of shukr to Allah Ta'ala. So we're not saying this is a new religious holiday for that. That's only for them. But in all cases, I think any time that Allah has been kind to you, it should be remembered. And you should give shukr for it on that day. On that day or any other day. But what would make sense? On that day, right? If 20th of Sha'ban, an amazing thing happened. I was about to lose my baby, and then my baby survived on that day. It's ever going to be etched in my head forever. I should give shukr to Allah constantly, but and on that day, it's reasonable for someone to say, oh, every day on this day, I'm going to give sadaqah. And Allah knows best. But this is what we've learned from our shuyukh, is that it is totally understandable and acceptable to do that. Give shukr for a ni'mah. I'm a uni student, blessed with all I need, but I struggle with motivation, poor academic performance, and feeling unfulfilled. I request your advice. Get a job and make yourself too busy to be lazy. So what do you take? 4 classes? 5 classes? Get a job. Get a part-time job on top of that. If you're still lazy after that, make it a full-time job. Because when your schedule is packed, you don't have time for this stuff. You don't have time. And when you take classes, you realize, oh my gosh, I don't have all day to study. I have literally 2 hours. And then I work, I go home, I sleep, I gotta sleep early, I gotta wake up early, all that stuff. Is istighfar valid if you intend wealth? Yes, it is. Still valid. Is it halal to come to USA for a better job? Let's go to the general principle. You are only allowed to travel to an un-Islamic or non-Muslim majority nation for the sake of da'wah. If you come to this place, you have to be engaged in the da'wah. Even if your purpose is for a job, you can make it halal by being engaged in the da'wah. So a guy from India, he does so well at IIT, that's what it's called, right? IIT? India Institute of Technology, right? It's better than MIT now, from what I hear. Yeah. Yeah, that's why they're so good at tech. No, I didn't make it up. Someone look it up. But if you come here and you get a nice job here in Silicon Valley or something, to make your living here valid and permitted according to the scholars, the muftis, then you have to be involved in da'wah. Okay. What does that mean? Giving out pamphlets to your colleagues? No. It means help the masjid, help the institutions, support the masjid in any way, shape, and form. When we say involved in the da'wah, that's what we mean by that. It means involved in helping the community in any way, shape, and form. Okay, let's take this question. Can a Muslim wear sealskins and wipe over it? We say, la. It's got to be leather or that's it, because it's a rukhsa in the first place. And rukhsa, Malik doesn't do analogy on exceptions. Khilafa now says, what is your question? Social media. I have no, what information on the WhatsApp chat? If you join Essentials, ArcView, you'll get a link to join the WhatsApp chat, if that's what you're talking about. When someone joins ArcView, look in your inbox, maybe it went into spam or something. You'll get a link to join the ArcView chat. If I woke up right before the end of Fajr, should I wait until after sunrise to pray? No, you pray right away. Why? Because what's makruh, forbidden, is to pray the nafilah. It's forbidden to pray nafilah, not fard, after the sun rises. Is it fard kifaya to refute anti-Islamic arguments? Yes, fard kifaya. It's not fard ayn on everybody. Fard kifaya means communal obligation. Fard ayn means specific individual obligation. If a sheikh says a convert woman doesn't need a wali if she's already married, is this valid? A woman should have a wali to represent her if she has a dispute with her husband. So when a woman, a Muslim woman, she has a husband, but what happens when there's a dispute with the husband? The whole purpose of the wali is to represent her Islamic rights and her worldly rights to the husband. So she does still need a wali. At least when the time that I have a problem comes, listen, I don't have a lawyer hypothetically don't have a lawyer right now. But if I find myself in a civil suit, I need to get a lawyer. Same thing. She doesn't have to get a wali this moment. But the moment she has problems and she wants to argue something against her husband that I'm not getting my rights and maybe we're going to get a divorce, then she needs a wali to represent her Islamic rights as a matter of recommendation. Highly recommended. There are two ways of ruling: democracy and dictatorship. Selecting of a leader, even democratically, is fine. The Sahaba did it, but changing laws from Sharia is disbelief. Is there a question here, or are you talking to somebody else? Well, there is something else. We don't ask the layman who he wants to rule. No. It's the leaders of the different social groups in a society. The leaders come together and choose someone from amongst themselves to rule. Those leaders become his shura. So they speak for their people in a way that their people couldn't represent themselves by. When the Khalifa, the ruler, Khalifa, king, sultan, amir, whatever you want to call it, when the ruler makes a decision, it is highly recommended for him to follow the sunnah and to do istishara. He should ask his shura, which are the leaders of the different social groups. And taking their advice is up to him. Once he makes a decision on a course of action, his whole shura have to be behind him. Because you accepted him. Now you have to accept what comes from him too. When your ruler is now starting maybe getting crazy or becoming corrupt, then those leaders may swap him out, provided the harms will not override the benefits. That's a summary of how to rule in Islam. How long is his term? The shura they may decide on a term. All right, we're the shura, we're all the leaders of the different social groups. What do we all agree on? Rule for 5 years and swap out. Or you rule to death. What's the proof of this? Did not Al-Hasan find it beneficial to abdicate? Right? He found it in the best interests of the ummah to abdicate. So when you're a shura, you're basically pre-abdicating. You're doing the same thing. You're saying that we find it most beneficial that one of us rules only for 5 years. Then swap out. Then another one rule. Then another one rule. And so on and so forth, so that we get a diversity of perspectives and no group feels that another group is dominating over everybody else. So that's permitted to do. Are there beginner books in Maliki fiqh? Yes. Go to the beginner book is called, what is the translation of Ibn Ashir? The practical guide, with that white book. Is it on Amazon? The practical guidebook, Ibn Ashir. It's on Amazon. Salam is complaining that he got skipped. Nida Z, so glad we're back up. Thank you, I really appreciate it. And a lot of gratitude deserves to go out to the people at YouTube who helped. So I highly have a lot of gratitude towards them, for them. Not yet. On the 21st, yeah. Yep. Where is Salam? Salam's question. Where's Salam's question? What does Salam say? Salam, just put your question again so I don't have to scroll up. A lot of questions today. Dear Sheikh, the muballighin who look at the non-mahram while da'wah, isn't it wrong? Whether da'wah, whether otherwise. If you are baligh, you cannot look at the opposite gender for lust. You can look at them for a reason, if there's a reason only. When can shura swap out the leader? They can swap him out if he starts to contravene the sharia or he's completely betrayed the people, and swapping him out will not cause greater harm than good. This is from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Okay. What are the sunan to do when a baby is born? From the sunan is circumcision for boys. That's the best, greatest, strongest sunnah. From the sunan is to whisper the adhan in his right ear and the iqamah in his left ear, so that dhikrillah is the first thing he heard. From the sunan is to open a date with your teeth and rub it along his gums so he can get some nutrients. From the sunan is to shave his head and weigh the hair and give that weight in gold as a sadaqah. The amount of its value in gold as a sadaqah. From the sunan is on the 7th day to give out, to disperse to people, to give out to people one sheep or goat. So you go get it slaughtered or slaughter it yourself on the 7th day and then distribute it to the people. From the sunan is to name the baby by the 7th day. What did we miss, Ahmed? Aqiqa we covered. Shaving the head. Naming by the 7th day. Circumcision. We mentioned that, the date. The adhan. I think we've covered it. Does an image on a computer screen have aura? Of course. Of course. What do you mean by that? Whether it's a cartoon or a photo or an AI generated image, the rules of looking apply. What did Allah forbid? When he forbade looking at women, what's the reason? For lust. Lust is the reason, right? So whether it's on a screen or in physical, because there was that wacky fatwa from that wacky group that used to say that pictures on a magazine is ink on paper. So you're not looking at a woman. You're looking at ink on paper. Of course, that group is basically extinct right now, because when you promote things like that, Allah's going to make you extinct. These guys used to call for khilafah in the day and look at pornography at night. Fools. A'udhu billah. Many people are stuck on pornography. At least they don't make it halal. I know a lot of people who are suffering from this fitna. This is one of the greatest fitnas of our times. But at least he's not saying it's halal. وَلَا يَرْتَضِيهِ لِنَفْسِهِ. He doesn't approve it for himself. He makes tawbah from it. T-Rock says they want a religion tailored to their nafs. That's true. At the very least, ya jama'ah, hate it for yourself. Hate the fact that you've fallen into it and believe Allah can remove me from it and take the actions that would cause that to happen. Such as always being with Muslims, always being in masajid, always making wudu, keeping your finger busy and your tongue busy with dhikrullah. Take classes. Don't leave yourself, but stow your stuff away at night in the car. Keep it in the car. If your car is parked safely somewhere and not going to get robbed, why do you need this tech with you on your bed at night? And then you ask, why do I get fitna? You get fitna because you invite it to yourself. Keep it there. Have some discipline, right? No, I'm saying have discipline in that because it's harder to have discipline when the fitna's right in front of you. Who's the most disciplined person? The one who doesn't have to be disciplined, right? Get yourself a roommate. So that get 3-4 roommates so that you'll never really like in that haraji situation where you're alone. Keep the tech in the car at night. Read books until you fall asleep. Work out. Exercise yourself till you're tired, to exhaustion. You got free time, get a job. Do the things and believe that Allah Ta'ala can remove you from this situation. Do the things that will bring about the ijabah. But at least these brothers and these sisters, some of them face this, at least they believe it's haram. And they hate it for themselves. But that other group tries to make it halal. And they disappeared anyway, they're extinct. Khilafa now says, no, I'm not talking about ArcView. Why aren't you talking about ArcView? Talk about ArcView. Get on to ArcView. Anyway, he said, I saw a video on social media about a guy doing salawat on the Prophet, and there was a group chat. Oh, that was from the Emirates. Started from the Emirates, and that brother was from East Africa. He was from Kenya. He was Arab East African. You know, the Habaib of Kenya. And he ended up... So I don't have access to that. What is the goal of the goat? What is the age of the goat that is slaughtered in Aqiqa? Oh, the age? Oh. I want to say it's... I'm not... Don't quote me on that. Why don't we open it up right here? The age of the animal slaughtered for Aqiqa. Hold on. All right, here we go. Al-Adahi. باب في الضحايا رسالة ابن أبي زيد والذبائح والعقيقة. First of all, what you slaughter in Aqiqah is the same that you would slaughter at Hajj. Except that the sheep and goat is preferable. الأضحية سنة واجبة على من استطاعها وأقل ما يجزئ فيها من الأسنان الجذع من الضأن وهو ابن سنة. One has passed 1 year. وقيل ابن 8 أشهر, past 8 months it said. وقيل ابن 10 أشهر, 10 months. والثني من المعز وهو ما أوفى سنة ودخل في الثانية. You see that? So from the sheep, a year and even slightly less than a year is acceptable. But for the goat, he should have entered the 2nd year. Okay? That's your answer.
Someone is asking, my white leftist friend said he considered converting to Islam, but he can't accept the Islamic ruling on LGBTQ. He's very intelligent, politically aware, and educated. Any advice on what I can do?
He wants to accept Islam, but he can't accept the LGBTQ ruling in Islam. He should really return back to the knowledge of Allah. God knows what's best. Allah knows what is best. And he should know the differentiation between someone who falls into sin versus a belief about the law. That's a difference. A lot of people who drink have a hard time entering Islam, but the answer to that is that it's different, that the fact that you're addicted versus the belief that it's forbidden. That's the difference.
I mean, zina is also a sin, right? But like,
Yeah.
so you having a feeling of like, let's say someone's inclining towards that, it's different from like them actually having intercourse with, you know, the same gender.
Correct. Yeah. Now, what would be the difference between fornication rules and LGBT rules, right? Like, what is really the difference? You're not allowed to have sex with anyone other than your wife as a man.
And you can't even get married to a guy, right? So it's like,
Yeah. So, I think that you return the matter to Allah Ta'ala. Look at, this is how God ruled for things to be, and he has more knowledge than us. Some sheikhs say if a man has addictions, he just needs another wife to avoid the sin. I don't think that's the case. Allah knows best, but I don't think that that's the case. Well, he can have multiple wives and still do that. Allah knows best. Can you please give the dalil for looking at a non-mahram without lust? I always thought that looking is because you have lust even when you talk. The hurma, if there is a need to talk to somebody, then that looking is forbidden when lust occurs. It's not forbidden when the lust does not occur and there is a need. If there is no need and then you're looking, that's forbidden too. With or without lust. Looking for no need, with or without lust, is forbidden. But when there is a need, it becomes forbidden when lust is involved alongside the need. Basically, lust overrides the need. And another one of the examples of that is the saying of Allah Ta'ala, لا يحل لك النساء من بعد ولو أعجبك حسنهن. It is, you are not to marry any women after this, even if you are impressed by their beauty. So clearly, how does the Prophet know who's beautiful and who's not? To be ولو أعجبك, and to be even impressed by their beauty. So that's the knowledge of what the face looks like can only have come because he saw them. And then the lust is what becomes forbidden, and looking for no reason is forbidden. He's a really good person and I want him to convert. So if you've exhausted all the worldly things, and I think the best worldly thing is just to hang around him and maybe take him to a couple masajid or go out to lunch with other Muslims, but don't underestimate the power of dua in the middle of the night. I'm telling you, it's more important than anything else. Speaking of dua, let's fire up the Wednesday dua. Let's load it up. We cannot tell him something false about Islam and sell him a false bag of goods. Tell him, yeah, it's halal in Islam. Of course we can't do that. Gharib ibn Fulan. When the father disappears from the family, the wilaya goes to the son. Correct, yes. Or one of the uncles, or one of the grandparents, or one of the sons. Whichever one is most capable of doing so. Because the ages may differ, location may differ, things like that. Reliability may differ. But it would first go to the son, then to the brother and the grandfather, if not. Is keeping family ties mandatory for extended family when they are very hostile? So keeping family ties for holidays here and there, yes. You would still keep those family ties. It's recommended when there's a holiday or something, or Eid, some occasion to message somebody in your family. It's recommended to do that. If they cause problems, you're also permitted to protect yourself from their headache. What is your view on running the Quran on speakers when no one is home or during sleep? I believe that's permitted. Have you heard anything on that, Ahmed? I don't think it's disrespectful. If you're doing it to expel shayateen and bring malaika, I think that's permitted. And Allah knows best. We can ask about that. But I've never seen anyone forbid that. How to do da'wah as it becomes fard on you when you don't have sufficient knowledge? Then you learn. You learn. But when we said that the justification of living in a country, a non-Muslim country, is da'wah, it's not only through scholarship and talking. Being involved in any way, shape, and form as a support of an organization or an institution. Then that's part of the da'wah. Can I follow or act as my sheikh, alim, or ustaz without asking for dalil? Yes, you can. When you're a muqallid, you don't have to ask for dalil. Does not Allah say, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ? If you don't know, ask the people of dhikr. One time a man told the sheikh, one of the Mauritanian shuyukh, he asked him something, and he was one of these people who, he's a layman. So he said, what's your dalil? He said, I'm your dalil. Because Allah says, ask the people of dhikr. So I'm telling you, this is the ruling, right? I'm your dalil. What constitutes breaking family ties, which incurs the displeasure of Allah? The immediate family that lives around you, and you break your ties over a worldly cause. That's what it is. Over a worldly cause, not a religious cause. You may break ties on religious causes. One of the cousins opens a liquor store. Khalas, we're done with you. Becomes a Qadiani. Done with you. Goes off and lives a life of zina. We're not visiting your house anymore, and we're not inviting you anymore. Those are religious rights, right? But we're not talking anymore because we don't do business together, and it didn't work out, and we tried to open a gas station and it failed. You got 3 days not to talk to him for 3 days. Worldly reasons, you have 3 days. Someone else, I don't want to talk to somebody because he's so mean and rough and he's terrible to be around. Okay, then I'm not cutting family ties. I'm just guarding myself from his terrible behavior. I'm not cutting ties. So like if he gets married, if he sneezes, if he's sick, I'm going to visit. If he invites me, I'm going to go. All those, but I'm going to stay away from him. That's not cutting family ties. I'm going to take a break from this person for a while. What's better, reading all together in a group or one at a time? If it's for teaching purposes, one at a time. If everyone's competent at recitation, then one at a time or all together in a group. Either way is fine. Imam an-Nawawi talks about that. He talks about that. That you can recite all at once or one at a time. Malik preferred one at a time. And the other people listen. And you get the reward of listening. How do I communicate with fellow co-workers about the Trinity without being disrespectful? If asked someone if Jesus was God, whom was Adam? I don't think you should do that on the job. Are you being paid for that? Does your boss know that you're going and making a speaker's corner out of the workplace? You know, in England, speaker's corner where they debate all the Christians. But if you want knowledge on that, who's the best in the Islamic da'wah scene right now? The refutation of Christians. Who's the best? I don't know who the best is, but refutation of Christianity.
I don't think he's the best, but Dr. Ali Attai is very
Ali
good.
Attai, watch his
very good.
videos and learn. Keep learning and learning and learning. I recently saw that in the Bible himself, Jesus mocked someone who he said, "Do you think you're God?" Right? So Jesus mocks the concept of a human being God. Shajib. So many other questions I couldn't get to. I apologize, but we will get to Inshallah, more Q&A tomorrow. What's on the agenda tomorrow, Omar? Did you communicate with Sheikh Shinawi? He texted you. You talked to him, right? Good. Tomorrow, Sheikh Muhammad al-Shinawi is up. We're talking about adab al-ikhtilaf. That's the subject matter. Adab al-ikhtilaf. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the Wednesday dua. لا إله إلا الله الملك الحق المبين 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 بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا ليغفر لك الله ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم نعمته عليك ويهديك صراطا مستقيما وينصرك الله نصرا عزيزا وكان عند الله وجيها وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا أنصار الله كما قال عيسى بن مريم الحواريين من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم وأعوذ نفسي بالله تعالى من كل ما يسمع بأذنين ويبصر بعينين ويمشي برجلين ويبطش بيدين ويتكلم بشفتين حصنت نفسي بالله الخالق الأكبر من شر ما أخاف وأحذر من الجن والإنس وأن يحضرون عز جاره وجل ثناؤه وتقدست أسماؤه ولا إله غيره اللهم إني أجعلك في نحور أعدائي وأعوذ بك من شرورهم وتحيرهم ومكرهم ومكائدهم أطفئ نار من أراد بعداوة من الجن والإنس يا حافظ يا حفيظ يا كافي يا محيط سبحانك يا رب ما أعظم شأنك وأعز سلطانك تحصنت بالله وبأسماء الله وبآيات الله وملائكة الله وأنبياء الله ورسل الله والصالحين من عباد الله حصنت نفسي بلا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم احرسني بعينك التي لا تنام واكنفني بكنفك الذي لا يرام وارحمني بقدرتك علي فلا أهلك وأنت ثقتي ورجائي يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا دارك الهالكين يا دارك الهالكين يا دارك الهالكين اكفني شر كل طارق يطرق بليل أو نهار إلا طارقا يطرق بخير إنك على كل شيء قدير بسم الله أرقي نفسي من كل ما يؤذي ومن كل حاسد الله شفائي بسم الله رقيت اللهم رب الناس أذهب الباس اشفي أنت الشافي وعافي أنت المعافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما ولا ألما يا كافي يا وافي يا حميد يا مجيد ارفع عني كل تعب شديد واكفني من الحد والحديد والمرض الشديد والجيش العديد واجعل لي نورا من نورك وعز من عزك والنصر من نصرك وبهاء من بهائك وعطاء من عطائك وحراسة من حراستك وتأييدا من تأييدك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام والمواهب العظام أسألك أن تكفيني من شر كل ذي شر إنك أنت الله الخالق الأكبر وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والحمد لله رب العالمين ظاهرا وباطنا وعلى كل حال يا أرحم الراحمين. So we'll take a few minutes for silent dua. صلى الله وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.